Welcome, everybody, to the Fusion Power Podcast. I am your host, Jared Gillespie, and excited for our topic today. This is one of those topics that is a make or break if you are in direct sales. I've been doing direct sales for 20 years now, and this is, I think, the number one ingredient to have success. We're going to be talking about that here in just a little minute. By way of intro, as a business owner, it's really important that you create a business plan. And that plan is going to start with setting goals and objectives, including your revenue targets, your profit targets. Unfortunately, that's as far as many business owners go. They say, I want to make $1 million this year, and then they hope that that's how it all pans out, but that ends up just being a sad dream for them. In order to accomplish those goals, you have to have a clear plan. It needs to be set in place that's going to produce those numbers that you're trying to yield there. And that plan is going to start with sales. That's what drives the whole engine, right? That's the gas on the fire. That's the coal in the engine. And that's going to cascade down to everything else that's required to produce the sale, the support that is going to be necessary to fulfill those sales orders. In our world, we have to plan operationally how to support all the business that comes from sales. And that's going to include everything from inventory and staffing and profit and cash flows, vehicle fleet, everything. There's a myriad of things that you need to be looking at. However, all the planning in the world operationally is not going to matter if you don't have the sales in the tank. And so sales have to be there. It's imperative that we plan out a path to our sales for every single week of the year. How are we going to yield these results? How are we going to get these sales in the first place? You have to have a solid sales platform, right? We've talked on these episodes talking about culture, talking about lead generation, and on closing techniques and overcoming objections, and on having good competition and good prizes and incentives and things like that. But the most important thing, and this is the baseline of any sales organization, especially in direct sales, is you have to figure out recruiting. Okay, without the talent, the sales will not be there. If the sales aren't there, the installs aren't there, and none of the operational things that you plan for are even going to matter at all. So it all comes down to recruiting. So today I'm excited to introduce our guest to the show. This is Curtis Lockard. He is our Director of Business Development here at Fusion Power. Curtis has been with us for about a year and a half, almost 2 years now.
Coming up on 2, yep.
So Curtis last year in 2023 recruited over 300 individuals to the Fusion organization. Amazing feat there, with over 1.6 megawatts of installs throughout the year from those recruits. So very impressive resume, and we've absolutely loved working with Curtis. So I'm excited to talk to you today about this super important topic. Curtis, before you got into recruiting and into solar sales, what did you do in your past life?
So as a teenager, I kind of bounced around, being a cook, a waiter, stuff like that. And I just always wanted something more out of life. And I heard sales, you can make pretty good money. So I did the telemarketing. I sold tools over the phone. I was really good at that. Did promotional products, things like that. And I said, man, I need to sell a higher ticket commission. I started selling cars. Got burnt out real quick. You guys know the hours when it comes to that if you've sold cars. And then I finally found myself doing gym sales, personal training. Somebody came into the gym, kind of recruited me on the idea of solar. I saw the money was real. I've been here ever since.
Nice. So. What got you interested in recruiting?
Recruiting, I actually worked at a startup company, and it was nothing that really stood out. They just said, hey, you're good at sales. We're going to plop you in the office. Let's grow a team, start posting ads, doing this. And I said, oh, okay. Didn't think much of it, and then I realized how fulfilling it is, right? Like when you sell solar, yeah, you're helping somebody save money while you make money, and it's great. But when it comes to recruiting, to me, it's second nature because it's so fulfilling. You get to provide an opportunity to somebody and transform their life. So it's second nature. It's kind of like when you try really good food, you're like, hey, taste this.
Try this, right?
Yeah. It's just like that. So it's very enjoyable.
And the thing that's cool is, like, if you're good at sales and you like sales, it's like, why do you like sales? Well, you like teaching, you like providing. You're kind of like a leader helper. It's like, well, that's what recruiting is as well. You're selling a product to somebody that's, that product being the opportunity that you talked about. Okay, give us something unique about yourself.
Something unique. I'm extremely disciplined. People do like the 75 hard challenge. I do like the 365 or whatever you want to call it. I eat the same thing every day at the same time. I work out 7 days a week. Obviously, there's some days where I'm traveling or sick where I'll let my body rest, but for the most part, I'm extremely disciplined.
Awesome. I also think it's unique about you. Don't you have like vertigo like 90% of the time?
Oh yeah, that's rough at times. But I don't care. I'll be bench pressing all dizzy, like come on, one more rep. But yeah,
Love it. Cool. All right. Well, let's get into some of the meat here. Let's start off right from the beginning, like recruiting. Why do you think recruiting is important? We tapped on it in the intro here, but from you, why do you think recruiting is important?
Yeah, it's a business at large, right? It's the only way they're going to scale, and it also affects their volume of sales. The more people you have, the more money you're going to make. The more marketing and word of mouth, you're just going to grow a lot quicker.
So it makes perfect sense why you would do it. So why is it so difficult? Why do so many companies and so many reps struggle to get talent and build their teams?
I honestly think they have the wrong mindset behind it. They're viewing somebody as simply as a prospect. Like, yes, they are, but they're looking at it as a dollar sign behind their name. I'm looking at it as, like I mentioned earlier, like, hey, let's give this person an opportunity. Like, let's see their strong points and really transform their life for the better. And then also, I do think they struggle because they don't hold their hand. They'll hire anybody and everybody and say, hey, go do this, but they're not leading from the front. So it's very important to have a structure and system in place when it comes to training and also doing it from your heart.
And how does that feel, right? If you're a new rep and here's your trainer that's not willing to take you out, how's that new rep feel?
Oh, terrible. It happened to me. I remember, not to drop names or anything, but I went to a company. They kind of sold me the dream, right? I quit my job. I didn't have much money in savings, drove all the way out to El Mirage, and the dude knocked 3 doors with me. And 2 of them didn't even answer.
Yeah.
Right? And I think I might have told you this. I didn't have a pitch, and looking back, it was super disarming. But I'd literally knock on doors and say, hey, my name's Curtis. I just started this new job at this company, and point at the shirt and say, a lot of people seem upset about solar. What are your thoughts on it? And to me, I was no longer a salesperson in their eyes, and it worked extremely well. My first day, I made $1,800.
So you just figured it out, right?
Kind of, yeah, as I went, yeah.
Most reps, though, I mean, new people, door-to-door is rough, right? You don't have
Very.
that confidence just to kind of figure it out. And so if you don't get that training and if you don't get that love, it's like, dude, this guy just sees me as another number, right? Like you said, or this guy's just trying to make money on me, and they bounce. Like that's just the end of it. So what I'm hearing you say on that first one is like, there's got to be a genuine interest in the people that you're bringing in. Like you can't promise somebody a dream and just say, go figure it out. Like you did figure it out. You're one in like 5,000 that do it that way. I owe that
to the discipline too,
right?
Like the grit. It's
and that's where it comes. Like there's a diamond in the rough for those kind of people, but for most of us, like we need to have a little bit of hand-holding as we get started with this kind of a career.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's so hard to recruit in general?
Oh man. Well, first off, retention isn't great in the door-to-door space, but I'd say it more has to do with patience and consistency. It's very difficult, right? You're going to be out there, you're going to have to handle rejection on a daily basis. And for me, that's why it's so important to pick out the right prospects and candidates, because you have to have thick skin. You're going to get your teeth kicked in, but you also have to do it with them and show them, hey, this is part of the process, and get them paid as quickly as possible.
So what's ironic that you say there, though, isn't that the exact same thing that we have to go through with customers?
Yeah.
Right? We're still going through the rejection. We're still having to have thick skin when somebody says, go get a real job.
Exactly.
Right? But for some reason, it seems more difficult in approaching somebody to recruit them to come sell than it is to approach somebody to say, hey, you should get solar.
Yeah.
When the opportunity to sell and the amount of money and the life-changing opportunity it can give you is so much more impactful even than giving somebody a solar system, which is going to be a great thing for them as well.
Yeah, I think any learning curve is difficult, but especially when it's commission only. It really puts people in an awkward position. So,
what kind of fallout and conversion should a recruiter expect? Because I think that's another reason that a lot of people will try recruiting and then just be like, oh, that didn't work, I'm done. Like, what you've recruited hundreds and hundreds of people now over the years. Like, what should somebody be expecting as far as a conversion?
30 to 50%. If it's anything less than that, you need to check your system, your managers that are training the guys, your ads. There's something that you're missing right there. But you have to keep in mind, too, for the guys that are listening, it's like when you first start knocking doors, or even when you're still knocking doors, how many doors do you have to knock to set an appointment? It's the same thing. How many recruits do you have to recruit to actually get a solid guy that you could develop, and they're going to give you the time of day to even do that?
So it is those same ratios. We talk about, like, if I'm going to sit down with 10 customers, I'm going to close 5 of them. So 30 to 50%, I can close them. The retention is the hard part,
yes.
Right? I feel like recruiting somebody is like the easiest thing in the world. Like you come in, you show somebody the pay scale, you walk them around the building and show them the operations, you have them meet some guys that have been making $500,000 a year. Like everybody wants the opportunity, but then what happens the day after they sign up? fallout, right? So
Yeah.
there's a reason when somebody goes out on the door and they get their teeth kicked in for a week or two, they're just, all right, I'm done with this, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's important that reps realize like recruiting is no joke. Like you're going to be cycling through people. 1 out of 20 people are going to make it. Mm-hmm. And so you have to have the patience and the tolerance to say the game here is a numbers game, right? We don't look at people as numbers, but understanding that even though this guy has potential, the odds are only one in 20 of this guy is actually going to make it.
Exactly.
So when you see a prospect, what's your mentality as you approach this guy?
No, I'm judging
Or
it
gal.
the first 10 seconds, right? It's just like if I were to knock your door, right? You're looking at my demeanor, my physical appearance, my tone, verbiage, everything like that. So if I see somebody, for an example, I was at Olive Garden a week or two ago, and I said, man, this guy would be great for sales. I'm going to recruit him. It happened to be past a door knocker.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just because I picked up on the way he was speaking to individuals and how confident he was. Those are the things I look for anybody in public. It's because, hey, if you're approachable and you speak well, I know you'd be phenomenal at door to door.
It's awesome. What would how would you approach it? How do you approach or like initiate that conversation? Because that's kind of awkward to like have your waiter be like, hey, do you need another refill? And you're like, no, but hey, you should come and work for me. Like,
yeah.
Maybe you're that blunt. I don't know. How do you initiate a conversation like that, either with a waiter or at the gym, or how do you go about doing that?
I like to find a common ground, whether it's somebody wearing like a T-shirt that you could recognize another solar company, pest control, alarms, whatever it may be, or compliment them. Not be fake, but like if you recognize their shoes or their watch, if they're at work, maybe ask them a question about their job. You can be blunt, like, hey, you want to come work for me, but that's like saying, hey, you want to go solar right now?
Right.
It's not going to work, right?
Yeah.
You need to build that relationship and also find those weak points that you could fulfill.
Sure. And it's a sale, right? We start out by building a problem, and then how our product, is the solution to that problem. Mm-hmm. Where you're at right now, what do you like about what you're doing right now? What don't you like? And then how can this opportunity help you? Exactly. But I know that's what you do because that's how you approach me at the gym. Right?
Yeah. And hey, for you guys watching, if you don't know, that's actually I was trying to recruit Jared, and he recruited me. But you were wearing, I think, a Sonova shirt.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
And you said, hey, do you do solar? I'm like, yeah. And then we went into it, and yeah. I'm glad that ended up working out. One of us was a better recruiter, I guess, huh?
I suppose. I guess you're the only one better than me.
I love it. How do you get somebody to come meet with you? So you have that conversation. What is your close, right? On the doors, when we have to set an appointment, right? It's great to have a cool conversation and get somebody excited. But if you can't close that and set a solid appointment, it doesn't go anywhere. And so when we're recruiting somebody, we've got to get them to agree to meet us at the office or go to Topgolf or go out to lunch or whatever it is. What do you do? How do you make that happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. I need sales guys to really focus on this point because it's not any different than selling. It's kind of like what you mentioned. You have to find that pain point, right? And the job is the solution to that pain point. So when I'm speaking to an individual trying to get them through the door, I'm looking at, hey, are you happy with your pay? What are your hours like? Are you missing your kids' sporting events? Do you like your boss? Do you like the people you work with? Do you feel fulfilled? Is there a ceiling? Like, do you have room for growth? And I'm looking at those things that way I could kind of pinpoint my selling points when it comes to solar, right? Obviously, make your own paycheck, your own schedule, and then that's when I kind of do a soft pitch. Hey, come check it out, see it for yourself. I'll introduce you to some guys that are actually from your past. I have other guys that have sold cars. Why don't you come and I'll introduce you to them, and you can kind of like sit back and see how you feel. You
guys notice like how many questions did he ask there, that were making them think about how satisfied am I with life, right? How much you making? What's your time? Are you spending time with your kids? Is it a grind? Do you like the people you work with? Do you like your boss? Like all of those things are potential areas of discomfort that you can say, this is why you're going to love this company, right? When they come in and they see people excited to be working with each other and they see the family atmosphere, they see the competition and they see the energy and they see the amount of money that people are making, like it's easy to fill those holes when you help identify it right from the beginning.
Yeah, and also just to add on that too, I think it's very important to get to know the individual. Depending on the recruit, take your time with it, right? But you can also point out strong points like characteristics and stuff that this individual has, saying, hey, the way you just open up that conversation, or I know you deal with rejection all day because of this, and you just say you're already doing it. It's just a different job. And that way you could kind of help push them over the edge to make that decision.
That's good. We talked about the difficulty of keeping somebody engaged after they've been recruited, because we come in, we do this awesome pitch, we tell them this, this life-changing opportunity that sounds cool, and the emotion's high. They go and they sign the rep document, but then they fall out. What is the key to getting a recruit to actually stick?
You got to get them paid as quick as possible. A lot of guys don't believe the money in this industry. You have to get them paid, especially to get them in that comfort zone so they understand that money is going to come. For me, when I made that $1,800 my first day, my mind completely changed. Because if I did that in one day, what can I do in a week? What can I do in a month? What can I do in a year? What if I did that 3 times in one day? And then my brain chemistry just kind of changed the way I viewed money and opportunity, and I no longer viewed my time as money. I viewed my productivity as money, and it was just it was a big changing event in my life.
So then, so you get them focused and get them paid as quick as we can. If I'm a recruiter, how do I make sure that this guy's going to get paid fast? Because I'm not just going to give him a loan, right? That's not a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
How do I make sure that this guy starts making money fast?
Yeah, obviously.
What's my responsibility?
Yeah, your responsibility is to check up in on them, make sure they're with a good manager, that the training is going as it's supposed to be, right? Check up on the manager, check up on the new recruit. Hey, how did your first day go? Or good luck on your first day. Can we grab lunch later this week so we could chat about your first week? Really stay involved. Like, obviously, there's a pass-off point with a recruiter, but it's important to hold your managers accountable and also not just drop the ball. Like, hey, you're on the team, see ya.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm on a team. Let's say I'm a rep and I recruit, I'm at the gym and I recruit this guy. What is my responsibility to make sure that that guy is going to be solid and start making money quick? What do I need to do?
You need to lead by the front. You can't be the guy that's pointing fingers. You need to be out there daily with them. If you guys think you're going to hire somebody that's just going to go knock doors by themselves, you're nuts. You need to be with them every day for at least 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the personality of the guy.
So, and kind of that's probably going to lead in this next question is, what do reps do or what do they not do that causes their recruits to fall through the cracks?
They're not persistent or consistent. You have to just drill them constantly, pretty much.
What do you consider your strengths with recruiting?
I'd say persistency. I'm very good at following up. Even if they didn't think about it or it was a hard no, I'll ask them 20 more times, and I really don't care. I'm super friendly the way you go about it. I occasionally get cussed out, but maybe it's happened once or twice over the past year.
My favorite ones are where, like, whether it's a dealer or a rep, they'll come in and be like, dude, you've got the most persistent recruiter in the world. I'm like, I know, he's awesome. They're like, honestly, I only took this appointment just so he'd stop calling me.
Yeah. Well, and it gets
awesome.
them in the door, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're looking at somebody and what business you want to be hitched to, why would you not want to work with a guy like me? I'll always be in your corner. I'm always available. I'm going to get the job done. And also, if you want to grow a team, I'm your guy. And
you're telling them that, right?
Yes.
And they're believing you. So when you guys are trying to recruit someone, they need to believe that. The same way you have to have a customer believe in you that you're trained and you know what you're talking about, has to be the same thing when you're recruiting somebody. Like, you've got to make sure that they know you got their best interest at heart, that you've been in the trenches before, you know what you're doing, and you're going to be able to show them how to do the same thing. But it can't be, like you said, it can't just be like, sign on and somebody else is going to help you figure this out. Like, that's just never going to work. So Curtis, what advice would you give to somebody that has never really done a lot of recruiting in the past?
Just be patient on yourself. It's going to be difficult, just like door knocking, but it's well worth it. I think it's very fulfilling when you get to give somebody an opportunity and watch their life change in front of you.
So where do I start? I'm new. I just signed on. I really like this new comp plan that Fusion's come out with. I can make a bunch of money recruiting, whether or not I can train them or not. I want to be involved with this. Where do I start? What do I do?
Yeah, so obviously ads is the easiest way. If you don't have money, I actually make them come to me. And a lot of guys don't think of this. You're going to have to be prepared for your phone to be blown up, but I'll target car dealerships and I'll blast my information online. So I actually have salespeople reaching out to me. I'm not reaching out to them. So I'm kind of doing the opposite, but if not, you could go to malls. Those guys at the kiosks, they're killers, right? Any person that's going to approach you, pitch them, right? I had a guy sell me clone at a gas station. I recruited him and his 3 buddies that were selling clone anywhere you could think of.
Anyone that approaches you, that's the person you want the most, right? Because
Exactly.
they're already doing it, right?
Yeah.
The guys that are selling you, if they're selling you pest at your door, they're selling you magazines.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, those are the guys that you want.
I think I told you my mother, God bless her, she calls me on speaker every single time somebody knocks her door.
Curtis, I got somebody here door to door you need to talk to.
Yeah, literally. I love it. But any opportunity, take advantage of it. Car dealerships are great if you go walk on the lot, especially if you're on a flat flash a pay stub or something, kind of show them that it's real. I remember the Jeep Chrysler off there off Superstition Boulevard. I recruited to the entire dealership, which 2 of the reps are still with us today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, we've got a rule at my house. Anybody that stops by, you have to get their business card. Like I'm not home, right? But so I'm like, to my wife, I'm like, get their business card so I can call them back later. But I love being there. I love seeing their door approach. I love giving them feedback and then say, hey, look, I'll buy from you if you're willing to come in and sit with me and talk and listen to the opportunity that we have.
Yeah.
So, we can recruit at the gym, we can recruit at restaurants, we can recruit on college campuses, we can recruit at car dealerships. You can put your name out there and have people call to you. Facebook, Instagram, get on the different groups that are out
sporting
there.
Events, BNIs, the list is endless. It could be anywhere.
There's so many opportunities, and a lot of guys will just sit there and be like, I don't really know where to go. I'm not connected anymore. I don't have a whole bunch of friends. The people I know already have jobs. It's like, going back to your original thing, it's like, but how many of them are actually happy doing what they're doing?
And also, one thing a lot of guys don't focus on either, it's like, even if it's a no for the one guy you just met in public, I guarantee you he knows 5 people looking for a job and another 5 people that are unhappy at their current position.
The other thing is that this job can work as a bridge too. I've got a lot of people that I've hired over the years where it's like, hey, I'm not really interested in doing this long term, but I'm trying to get a bunch of money quick, and I hear I can make it in solar. It's like, we'll come in and make whatever, 100 or 200 grand, and then go be a high school principal or go teach whatever else, go be buy your facility, whatever it is that you're doing. And then obviously they end up getting hooked,
I was going to say,
right?
they always stick.
It's like, I don't know if I want to do something else because the money's so good.
Yeah.
But it's anywhere and everywhere. And you got to treat it like a sale. Who are the best candidates?
Oh, athletes, people at the gym. So that'd be my first go-to, and also that's the easiest way to break ice. You see them there on a daily basis. You don't have to have that awkward conversation all at once. You could get to know them. You're going to be able to bug them consistently because you know what time they go to the gym. I'd say that's the best place for sure.
You get you know what it takes to knock doors, right? It takes that consistency.
Yes.
So somebody that works out a lot is dedicated to that. And whether it's the gym or anywhere else, but I think to me that's the number one thing is like find somebody who's been consistent doing something.
Yes.
When I interview someone and I say, tell me about what you've been doing, it's like, well, last month I was working here and then a couple months ago I was here. If I find out that they've been bouncing all over, they're telling me that they're not the most consistent person, which means that it's going to be really hard to get them to give a consistent effort, which is absolutely 100% required doing this kind of a job. And so I think you want that consistency. I ask them, tell me about something hard that you've been through that you felt like you were able to overcome. And if they can't answer that question, that's another one. Because
that's literally a question I asked during the interviews. Tell me a time you persevered when the odds were against you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you ask that question?
Because I want to know if they got grit, if they have thick skin. When your back's against the wall, what do you do?
Hire according to your values, right? If you value hard work, if you value grit and consistency and that kind of a thing, you got to be asking questions that are going to help you identify people that are going to be able to fall into that. When we've touched on this, but when you're doing an actual interview, what are some of the other questions you ask, right? That one was an example. Tell me about something hard that you've been persistent to overcome. What are some of the other questions that you ask to try and filter people out to make sure that they're not the wrong person?
Yeah, good question. I love to have people sell themselves, right? This is a sales interview. You're going to have an elevator pitch and you're going to sell yourself. So I'll ask them, first off, why you out of all that people in that room, right? And then tell me why specifically that you want this job. Like, what's the bigger reason behind this? And I don't want it to be money. And if it's money, I want it to be very detailed on what you're going to do with it. Because for me, if I actually wind up going through that interview process and hiring them, now I can hold them accountable and remind them of their why. So those days they're struggling and want to give up or quit, I could remind them of that.
And I love that. I think it's a super powerful thing to say, look, I'm going to bring you on and we're going to have an agreement that the reason you're doing this job is for whatever it was, right? You want to be able to pay off whatever. You want to be able to, get a house or get a car or whatever the case may be. When you come to me in a week from now and say, hey, I just don't think this is working out, we're going to go back to this agreement that we're making right now that says you already promised that you'd give this 2 weeks of consistent time for this reason. And that's what you're agreeing to.
Exactly. It's just like sales, right? We talk to a customer, they're going to tell us how to sell them, right? The same thing with the recruit. And I want to make sure the reason's big enough and it's a motivator compared to the person that, I just want a job, right? No, thank you. Not hired.
Totally.
Yeah.
What's your goal for the year in terms of megawatts?
6
or number?
megawatts.
6 megawatts?
Yeah, quadrupling.
That's big.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yep.
What's your plan to get there?
just talking to everybody and their mother out there, right? Dealers, anyone. I think with the market changes and obviously what we offer here at Fusion is phenomenal. And I just have to say hats off to you, Jared. You make it very, very easy. When I have people that want to come in, they're just wowed every single time. Since we do everything in-house, it just makes it a no-brainer with a comp plan, everything like that. And obviously the atmosphere, too, you really can't beat it. So.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a team effort, right? We all work together to try and make the best opportunity. And, you know, when you guys are recruiting, not only is there a ton of money in it, but I really do believe that this job and this company can really change people's lives. I think it's such a cool place to be a part of. And I look at the guys that are what I would consider to be an underdog, like people that they come in, I'm like, well, this guy's probably only going to be here for, you know, a couple days and then he's gone. And then I find he gets his first sale and it's like, yes, like keep it up. And then all of a sudden, you know, we got these people that were homeless a year ago now making $200,000 in a year. And just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
It's life-changing. And you do have to remember that too when you're recruiting, because you never know who's going to make it in this industry.
Right. You make those, like you said, you're looking for, trying to play your best odds, right? You're trying to look at the people that seem like they're going to make it, but it doesn't always happen. Yeah. Some of the best people, it's like, dude, you have all the talent in the world, but you can't get yourself out the door every single day. Yeah. Meanwhile, you got another guy that has zero talent, but he's an absolute workhorse, and he goes out and kills it and changes his life within just a couple months. So it's an awesome opportunity, and I feel like, you know, when we talk about our core values of adding value to people's lives, you know, recruiting is a solid way to do that, and there's a huge return for doing that for yourself as well. So this year, guys, as we get into 2024 and we want to build this company and take it to the next level, taking your own individual businesses to the next level and building your teams, focus on recruiting. Spend time doing it. Think about how much time it takes you to prospect, to get a lead, to sit down with you. It's going to take the same amount of time and commitment to get recruits to come and sit with you. But if you do that, the dividends, of course, are paying exponentially. We wish you guys luck this year as you get going. Please utilize us. Come in and talk and sit down with Curtis, myself, Tyler, and others who have recruited for a while if you need help. We want to offer you that kind of training so that you can have that kind of success. And if you're watching from another company, we have an amazing recruiting plan for you as well. Make sure you contact Curtis. We'll have his number here for you so you can call him up, and we'll set up recruiting meetings for you. Appreciate you guys being here today. Thank you for listening to the Fusion Power Podcast.